Oh, your knees, I think so, your knees.
Yeah.
I mean, I had the curve all the way around. Good evening, everybody. My name is Michael DiLorenzo. I'm the chairman of the Berlin Conservation Commission. As indicated on the agenda for this meeting, this is an in-person meeting with remote access available through Zoom video and conference call. Access information was provided and posted on the town website for commission members, applicants, and interested parties to participate. For those joining remotely, I would ask that you mute your device if you are able to, so we don't get any background noise or interference. When it is time for individuals to speak, please unmute and identify yourself. If a number of people ask to speak, please be patient until it is your turn. 2 reminders: every time you speak, you must state your name and your title for the record. Second, let's not speak over one another so everyone who's listening can hear what is being said and we have a clear record. For this reason, we will do a roll call as needed. Also, the meeting is being recorded and the recording will be posted on the town's website. And I'm now going to ask Maureen to take attendance by calling the roll.
Michael DiLorenzo.
Present.
Thomas Heisler. Excuse. Guy Hoffman.
Present.
Carl Lewis.
Present.
Joseph Mazza. Do not see.
Joseph Mazza, as of the end of April, is a resident of Connecticut. He moved, so he's also. I didn't print out an updated list, but he was probably moved from the list.
I obviously didn't. I'm sorry about that. Mary Kaplan LaRose. Present. Robert Ramsey.
Present.
John Cagliano. Alter. Present.
Okay. Thank you. And we have a couple of guests. Would you kindly identify yourself for minutes here and then tell us why you're here?
Sure.
Well,
So 158 Elwood, here's your vote. So just 3 things. One's really quick. So one thing that comes to mind is signage for Bicentennial Park along North Road by one.
I would say, hang on one second, hold your thought. I just wanted to identify our guests and then.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We're all happy to. So did you get that? Yeah. Thank you. Hang on. And Susan was.
Yuski.
Susan, welcome.
She got phone or she
Susan?
hasn't just unmuted herself and hasn't said anything yet.
You there, Susan?
Glitch.
You might have to refresh.
She go on,
She muted and unmuted again.
She was muted. I thought she unmuted.
Yeah, she's unmuted right now. Where do you see that?
Right here in the corner. Oh, it shows up. Oh. So Carla is muted. You can see it here. It's muted.
She unmuted. I saw.
She
the red
unmuted.
before. Susan, can you hear us?
Susan, why don't you put something in the chat?
Thank you. I was just about to say that.
All right, we'll just have to.
Well, we're hoping you're there.
So before we get started with our guests, so last month's meeting minutes, I was not present, so I will defer.
Just for the record, Susan said hi.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Acknowledging.
So I move that minutes be accepted as printed. The minutes from April 12th, 2022.
Second.
Carl seconded.
Carl, thank you.
Carl, you're very faint when you speak. Just so you know. I'm turning ours up too.
I'm sorry, that never happens, but so I will say this too. I'm having a hard time hearing you. It's not hitting the voice activation. So if you could, everyone, even if it seems weird, please speak up. But I second it.
Thank you. And I've got a comment.
just for audience and citizens, as far as you could tell, we never checked in, we never made contact, really. But from what popped up on the screen, last name is just.
Is the R maybe a middle initial?
Yeah, I think so. So I think we should just do it.
I had to wait, I wrote that down as well.
Was he on like that? So was he on Zoom?
Just change that. Get rid of the R.
Remember.
On the screen. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I'm just gonna take a second to test the microphone to make sure that we're using that one and not the one on my computer.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
I heard Michael, but I didn't hear a lot of that discussion of the change to the minute. So if you could just speak up a little bit, I'd appreciate it. And I will try to do the same.
So it was a motion seconded by Carl, and then last name corrected for the audience of citizens. That's it. All in favor of accepting the minutes as written?
Aye.
Thank you, Carl. So moved.
Carl has something to say, except he's muted.
No, you voted.
No, I was just voting aye.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Keeping an eye on you.
I'm abstaining just because I wasn't at the meeting.
Or Debs, myself as well. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for letting us go through some of that housekeeping, and welcome our guests from Elwood Road. Wanted to-
Sure. Sorry for jumping the gun.
That's not a, do not apologize, that's fine.
And so just a couple things. One being there's access to Bicentennial Park off of Norton Road. I'm just gonna speak to Carl again.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a wooden post there, but there's no sign that really denotes that it's a trailhead for access to the park. And I think it'd be very beneficial to have that there, considering there's such a cluster of neighborhoods and people walk, and kind of make a contiguous circuit for people. And it's not exactly a very welcoming approach, considering it's right next to someone's home, and most people would not even think for 2 seconds that this is a trail access into the rest of the park. So I don't know if this has been addressed before, but I think it would be a benefit to the community to have a small sign at least indicating it's an entrance to the park. Secondly, in regards to the community garden, I talked to Carol Gooden very briefly about this, and it's my understanding this has been approached before. I don't know, but I was just wondering what the commission's thought is on having some type of composting bin structure placed at or adjacent to the community garden for processing, home food waste, managing a compost pile, and then with the goal of having that compost worked into the individual garden plots. The idea of the structure would probably be something by 4 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot, very simple, with mesh netting to keep out any type of critters or stuff like that with the top. I was just wondering if this is something the commission had broached before, or would be open to the idea of in regards to the community garden. Third and lastly, I see that the dog park discussion or bicentennial is on your agenda as well. I just wanted to comment that since the implementation of those signs, it seems like the traffic and the conduct and behavior and usage of patrons in that park is kind of improved. It seems like there's a clear delineation, and people are aware that they're coming onto a potentially off-leash dog area. And from people I've spoken to, it seems to be working fairly well. I go there quite frequently for hiking, bird watching, what have you, and I really haven't seen any issues. So it seems to be working well, and a small intervention that seems to be beneficial. That's all.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to respond because I have a question on signs. It's very timely. We're discussing it today. It's an ongoing issue, not an issue, it's an ongoing sort of project / challenge for us to get funding and place signs. And as we've acquired a lot more open space, there's a lot many more areas. So it's that is one of the potential areas that we have on our rough list, if you will. So it's a great idea. Yeah, I would. I just wanted to say one thing about the compost. You're thinking about making a community compost?
Yes.
So I'm not sure we ever really thought about that because it's a much bigger issue than just the garden and trying to attract other people into that area.
But, well, I apologize. I'm saying mainly for the use of the community garden. You know, community garden users positing their food waste there with the intention of composting, not inviting the entire community to do that. I see the problem with that. Yeah, I understand. Trying to manage, people throwing meat in or whatever.
That's what I.
Yeah, no,
That
no,
would be.
yeah, I'm saying people who are involved in the community.
So I know because I oversaw the garden for many years, we've never discussed it before. To me, the one way it would be done is exclusively in the garden because it's locked. So people could just apply for it. And it's certainly a really great idea. I think we just have to talk about it and see how it would work. Would we have room within the confine of the garden space? I don't see, outside of it as a solution.
That's a good point.
And just at one point,
Sure.
regarding the funding, which I failed to mention. And I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but that new 5-cent nipper alcohol bottle tax, that money is supposed to be reserved and saved for use for conservation, environmental needs, or the management of reducing solid or food waste. And it's supposed to be kind of lockbox for that pension. So I know that the town has received about roughly 9,200 in the past 6-month period for that. And I don't know how that kind of ties into your commission or how you manage to get those funds, but that is money that's allocated kind of for your group, so to speak. So, yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
And just for further discussion, if you want to look at it or whatever, these are just like rough diagrams and a little thing about an approximate idea of whatever.
Oh, for the compost?
Yeah,
Are you involved with the community garden? Do you have a plot there or?
I'm a first time user of that community garden, but I've used the community gardens in other towns.
Right.
For so.
Thank you. And I think we can have
Yeah, I think we should talk to Carol about that as well, what her feeling is. It's not a bad idea.
No.
And, a lot, some education.
4x4.
Good.
I'm sorry,
No,
4 by 4 by 4, 4 by 4 by 4, yeah. It's not a huge bin, so,
It still
Should be able-
matters in terms of the
Where-
size.
where
it is
and
inside the
layout
fence.
within the
Yeah.
fence.
Right,
Still,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, it would be.
Are they always that size? Is that pretty much standard?
You can adjust it however you want. That's just kind of
You're
But again-
envisioning a single unit?
I'm envisioning like a single unit, but with probably at least 3 compartments. So you have one, it's sort of right, turn it. Right.
Do they have those, like an ability to turn them?
They do come like
So you don't
that.
have to physically do it with like a pitchfork?
That's a good point. So, I mean, that's food for thought. This would be a very basic, simple build out where you'd be using a pitchfork, shifting it over. But I'm thinking costs too. Of course.
Yeah, and getting volunteers to do that, because that's pretty hard work, because gets heavy.
you think we could get that money and get the freestanding, the one that you
Yeah.
crank and you turn, and then you don't have to, have a pitchfork and turn it over. And just, if everybody just agrees when they walk in, they give it a twist, it'll get turned.
We can add it to the guard rules.
You must turn, right.
Ooh,
During the mornings.
If you turn it 3 times, you will get rain.
I think we just gave one away.
Oh,
We just gave it, oh, really?
That's a good idea too, so I think we'll reach out to Carol, so she thinks that actually Steve would
I was
be part of
gonna
this
say,
too.
I would like to make sure we include public works and grounds too.
Right, because they end up taking care of it, fixing it, and doing other stuff. Yeah, excellent.
You know, you try it for a year, and if it breaks down, or if it's not being used right, or whatever, well, then you try.
I think though it's more than just try, it has to be feasible. We have to be able to cover the expense. So it sounds like there's some
Yeah, the
money.
best way is the amount of work.
Right.
You don't have to worry about somebody doing it, so
Right.
they just keep layering it with, brown stuff.
Right.
Green stuff in
And for
there.
the nip bottles that I pick up when
I
I'm
don't know,
on
but
my
that's
job.
like last week. They have a hard time. I said, I don't know what the plastic,
They're a few $100, depending on the size.
and the town's got like 49,000. If they all. There may be a fight over.
It's
you
still
know.
worth.
Oh, it definitely is.
It's a good idea.
But, that money should be an ongoing kind of thing
Oh, yeah.
to the town,
Yeah.
so.
400 now.
So there may be something that
Those nips.
was in place ready to snap up.
Suspect
Who would it be going to?
It's swept up.
Where would it go?
State sending it in.
Finance. would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to.
So,
But
Yeah, absolutely. Great ideas.
One of us turning one, take up less space.
it would. It probably-
I was gonna say, it's a building, you gotta buy the wood.
Right.
That's like, it's
Dave,
not cheap now.
just pull up a map of the garden. I think this is the most recent map, but
Yeah, so you wouldn't have the space for them.
so,
Yeah, it's too
finding,
tight.
finding space, although there may be one plot that,
I know they used to throw art debris, like beads
Well,
and
they-
stuff.
In the will, there used to be an extra plot like next to it. I don't know if it still is.
yeah, there may be a little extra. I think this is the most recent map that was just done this year, but there did have to be a tweak to the last, to one we had. And I'm not sure if this reflects those changes. or not.
My
First one I
favorite
found.
insurance was-
Thank you. Okay, Heritage Drive, Maureen?
Okay, so this is an application of, if you're familiar with Heritage Drive, as you go up Heritage Drive, I can't recall it off the top of my head, goes off to the left, Heritage Drive kind of just stops, and there's a lot at the end, 19K. Just scanned it all, so give me a half a second so I can find the scan and share it on the screen. The application to subdivide the property 2 lots. It is a subdivision, a re-subdivision because the property was already subdivided to create Heritage Drive and the other, sorry, I'm trying to get back to share the screen so that people online can see it. Oh. Again, I just returned to work after being out for 2 weeks, so I haven't studied the plan other than the preliminary conversations we had with him. And Heritage Drive comes up. There's 2 driveways existing. There's a house here, and this is to then cross the transmission lines that's there, create a cul-de-sac for 2 lots. This area. Yeah, and Heritage Drive. We're not the GIS. So you can see. So here it is on the GIS, Chamberlain Highway, Heritage Drive going off. It is Chippen's Hill, goes off to the left. Heritage Drive here's to the right. And this lot was not included in the subdivision when Heritage Drive had a couple of phases that it came through. And this was left as a lot, but excess land not to be buildable at the time, not included in the subdivision. It was determined a while back by multiple departments in town. We had a meeting on it with regard to developing the parcel, and they would be able to build a single house without coming in for subdivision approval because the lot existed as a lot, saying it's not buildable. But in order to get more than 1 lot, they have to extend the road. You can see here that it just kind of veers off to these 2 houses, but the road width is actually there already owned by the town all the way up to the property line of lot 15K, which is the lot to be divided. So they'll have to do some improvements and create that cul-de-sac.
Is that something already on the property or is that just a truck?
Actually, these are debris, this debris, trunk.
Oh, okay.
It was, if I recall correctly, this property went into foreclosure or tax sale, went into tax sale actually. And the prior owner left some items, vehicles and equipment and some other things on the land. And so, yeah, those would obviously be clear with the development and subdivision. Again, I haven't gone through the plans thoroughly.
Thanks for coming.
You'll get to see them next week. Peter,
That's the gas pipe.
is the gas pipeline. So they do need the access over that, you know, but they were advised to work on securing that, making sure it can be done before they spend a lot of money developing their plans. And you guys, as far as if the room goes, Greg did bring. Sorry. So we have the topo, the subdivision plan, the site layout, road and profile, soil erosion plan, and then details of assessment. So I'll do this. I'll pull out the site layout plan, which is the one that's also on the screen. For any of you, and particularly for Carl, if there's a sheet that you'd like me to flip to, let me know.
So is this consistent with zoning and what this commission might have agreed to when it looked at Heritage Drive, Chippen's Hill Road? Because if it is, I mean, I have no comment if it's just subdividing something that can be subdivided. I mean, cool.
So to the best of my knowledge, again, I just got back, so I haven't analyzed the plan other than the preliminary conversations we've had on this for the last couple of years. Actually, staff has had inquiries with regard to this property for a couple of years. The Heritage Drive subdivision phases stopped at this point and didn't, they never investigated going into this property. It wasn't I guess we could presume it would have been the next phase had they pursued developing additional property. But it was part of the property that included Heritage Drive. And that becomes,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it was approved as a building lot, a single lot. Is that true?
that's not completely clear, but
Oh.
it seems that it was not precluded from being a building lot.
Okay.
So we did have one, for instance, when the one on West Lane that Earl Wicklet did, Nature's Edge, that parcel was left out of a subdivision years ago and left as agricultural, not a building lot, because they hadn't developed the plan to that point. They were keeping it agricultural. They said, we only want to develop this part of our farm, or I'm assuming the rest of it was farm. And they only were proposing to up to a certain line. So it wasn't, you know, any of the lots that might be septic or other, or even utilities getting to it had not been pursued at that time. Yeah, we're just leaving that.
I think the answer to your question is
But it was identified as a lot, so
Right.
we said it wasn't precluded. In that other subdivision, it was precluded as not a building lot, this was not, if I remember, again, it was a few years ago that it went up for tax sale, so that's when we were fielding most of the inquiries, but by looking at the fact that, and I changed back to the aerial view, that Heritage Drive came up, the possession of Heritage Drive to the town literally dead ends at with road width for development of a road. It leads one to believe the intent was that it would eventually be extended. Otherwise, like Chippett's Hill, it would have resulted in a cul-de-sac, which Chippett's Hill,
Right.
they developed as a cul-de-sac. This,
It makes sense that that's how that's.
Yeah. Right.
There was problems in, I think, utility line.
Yeah, the
That's always
upper-
been an issue.
there
with
is
that lot.
utilities there as
But it's
well.
only at the very.
So if I go to the planometric, I believe we can see both the gas line, right, this is the gas
And
line,
I
I
don't-
believe,
I
and
mean,
this is the overhead transmission lines.
And if-
electrical.
If that's accurate at all, I don't know how the other two lots got where they are.
They are, the houses aren't exactly. The planometric on the GIS is
So the house is not built on top of the utility. So I would assume,
presumably not.
right,
You know, it may be
yeah.
relatively
runs through the
close,
yard.
but it probably runs closer to that line.
So the issue is just that they want to do two lots. They want to take that one and make it two.
And not an issue, they have to apply for
Right, but
subdivision approval.
that's what's really the discussion.
20 years.
Yes.
Is that if they were just going for the one,
Meriden
even
may
have to
have
come
something to say
here.
about it.
Maybe not, probably not.
It's adjacent to their property. All the property on the right side of it and up to the north of it goes up. Curves around, it's all the Meriden water. Property.
would have been that close to.
So that big,
Probably.
That sometimes doesn't work.
Keep saying it's buried.
that's the, what's showing there
Yeah.
is the barrier.
This is like,
New map.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but that shows up for all of, on the map here. It's barrier.
it's all one lot.
That's next to.
Yeah, it's got a couple of them.
This is the lot we're discussing right here.
I don't think
Oh, the one.
I agree.
No comment?
Any of the water or anything at all? Stream or two. It's wetland, so that's all. On there. Yeah, so.
Okay.
Stormwater easement. Yeah.
Now, would the town extend that? I mean, they wouldn't, they'd have to build that home.
They have to build the cul-de-sac. And then transfer it to the town. There was at least one inquiry to create a private entrance. That's not, you don't do a private road into a subdivision such as.
Yeah, it is.
Area of the.
I'm sorry.
Ground material into it, it's hard work.
Hi.
There you go. No. There it is. This one, that's what you wanted? Size of it. Get your orientation.
Right.
That's the best I could do to get rid of, I can't get rid of more of my screen, I'm sorry.
No, so just as a prelude, Mary Catherine, myself, Steve Wood, and Orosha, the town manager, walked this.
Pete Russell was there.
He wa-
He didn't walk.
Yeah, he was. He hung back a little bit. So walk this as a proposed leash-free dog area. So the parking, the clubhouse,
Yeah, scroll down.
thank you.
There's this clubhouse on the other side of the road.
Across the street. Clubhouse, there's a handicap parking with wooden guardrails there. And then this is the area, which is the fairway. Which is grass, it's all grass. And there's all mowed, yep, and there's growth, high growth barrier on that side and on that side as well. And it's pretty long and large. And if you could scroll down a little bit, please.
Towards the top.
Yeah,
Bring it down.
bring it down. That's it. Perfect, thank you. So, Mary Catherine, the bridge was kind of right here.
Right. And it's gonna end way before the bridge.
Kind of over here. There's a bridge that goes, well, I wish I feel like it's a touch screen, but I can't pull it. But
Pull it down.
yet?
Oh, it kind of goes off there.
Yeah.
So
Would
there's,
you like to do it with the cursor on mine?
no, I don't like touch grass. So there's residential up here, but there's kind of growth and barriers, so they, and then the proposed area would be just kind of stop it around there. And we were talking just guard.
Well, we were,
guardrails
yeah,
start
there
with?
was a discussion to just put up maybe something that looks nice, that might not necessarily guardrail, but like wooden
Posts.
posts and cross beams, just to delineate the end of the off-leash area. It wouldn't keep the dogs from going beyond it, but it would show people this is the end. And there'd probably obviously be a sign at the end that says end of off-leash area. And then there's gonna be signs at the beginning of it saying, dogs may be off leash or whatever their wording is at the beginning of it.
Would there be,
Can I ask a question?
Yeah. Of course you can.
I'm not on the board, so, you know,
Everybody.
would there be delineation along the trail as well?
No, that, well,
Between
there is,
the
a-
trail,
well, no,
the walking path?
no, the walking path is part of it. That's the way, I didn't think that's why they thought it was ideal, is that there is a cart path. And so this would allow people of, whatever varying levels of ability to walk to, it would just be this area that would be off-leash area. So if you obviously want to walk on a cart path and not have dogs off-leash, go on one of the other ones. Around that side, there's to the right, to the left, and more up and around. So basically, if you were doing your off-leash area, you go up and then you come back down.
Right.
But it's a
Signage,
nice field.
Yeah, it's very large too, yeah. Be signage at both ends so that people, if they're gonna wanna walk on that cart path, like Mary Catherine said, then they have to know they're going into a dog area.
I know we want to be a downer. This seems like it's gonna be a good idea. My only concern is we created a new handicap parking area. We re-asphalted all of that path, that's why it's nice and smooth. So if you're somebody who is not secure on your feet, walker, or even a wheelchair, and we don't have any kind of separation, the dogs come running out, I don't know if that would possibly be
Maureen,
an
can
issue
you slide it back up
for
again?
anybody.
So the handicap parking, the off-leash area, if you notice, there's the handicap parking. And the off-leash area starts way in. It would basically, you would still be required to walk your dogs on the leash until you get, I would say it was like to the former tee box.
Right, but whatever,
It's a little bit uphill and it's not gonna be, and these people here can go this way
no,
or they won't, they'll go this way.
there's too many hills. The only reason I say that is
Okay,
if you look at what we've kind of done with Distal Creek, we. It's very accessible now for people that aren't strong walkers. It's very flat.
Mhm.
They even have a bench
Yeah.
toward the end there. You probably saw that. That's a newer bench.
we
for
have a
people to
couple
sit on.
benches on that
Right.
fairway,
On here,
on that fairway. There's a couple of them. Well, there's a picnic table, there's a couple benches, I think, yeah.
So like when you were first saying maybe like a posted rail, I pictured at first in my mind running down that whole
That would be great.
length. So again, if you are, somebody who likes to maybe watch dogs, but is in a walker or whatever, there's no chance of the dog running out or something
That would
like
be
that.
great.
So are you talking about down here?
The whole length of
No,
the
because
cart path.
this right now, if you look at it, has really kind of been set up for anybody, say somebody who walks with a walker or an elderly person. It's relatively flat the whole way.
Yeah.
You have a bench that you could sit on as you
Yeah.
kind of approach the end.
Yeah.
So the only concern I have, and I don't know if you'll hear this from the public, is they may park there, they get out, they like to do their little walk. Now you have all these dogs running. And if there's nothing
Yeah,
separating the path from the dog park, that's just a possible concern.
That was-
But those dogs, Rob, will be under control, will they not? I mean, it's not like they're off leash, but they're not jumping on people or anything, correct?
Right, I just don't.
I
wanna
didn't
see-
realize, I thought that the other path, if, again. let's-
I know, I'm very familiar because I walk.
No, I know.
this
You're right,
every day.
that's,
This is not a way that they would go then.
It's not as accessible, like this now has all been
Well,
re-asphalted,
that's
so it's
something we
nice and
gotta bring
smooth.
up then, because
Right.
that was not discussed when we.
And if you
met. It
go,
was
if
not
you
a
go
big
this
issue.
way, then you've got the big hill that goes down and kind of comes around. I mean, they're great walking paths, all of them, But I'm thinking for possibly, somebody who's limited with their ability to walk.
That wasn't discussed at all, so that could be, that.
But that, that doesn't necessarily preclude that, but maybe there's something the town would want to consider something. I mean, not a big stockade fence or anything like that, but some sort of barrier separate where you walk versus where the dogs.
So
are
then
running.
you're saying that the off-leash people will be walking in the grass, not on the path?
Well, I
Because
mean,
if you fence off the path for other people, then how do you?
right, well, again, if it's just something simple, just to kind of keep the dogs, certainly they could go over or under it. But the people, if people want to walk and while their dogs are running in the field, it would probably be something you could just kind of step over. And again, I'm not saying no to anything. I think it's a great idea that we're looking at something like this. But I'm concerned that now, because we've got the handicap parking spot there, we re-asphalted that area to make it very,
With them in mind, really.
easier to walk, correct? We put the benches in.
Well, we looked at another area across the street, and that was not gonna be a feasible area for an off-leash area. We walked that with erosion,
Where the clubhouse is, the
No,
big
well, it's
circular field, or is
it's
that
to
not?
it was to the, if you're looking
To the
at the
right.
clubhouse, it was to the right. And then they
Yes.
mentioned the campers using that side,
Right,
so there was a lot of reasons. Definitely, I don't know anybody considered the fact that the handicap parking makes this one particular fairway the way they would go. I think, I don't know, I didn't know because I haven't walked every one of those paths. I've been there before.
it's just
been
that
on
that's a nice flat
Yeah.
strip.
I think it was just, there's so many other paths that other people could take. This would be the.
And
option.
I have walked those paths and it's Mr. Ramsey is correct that the one that goes to the east there is a nice path, but there are other nice paths and they are not. I mean, they're cart paths. I don't believe that they're prohibitively like precipitous from a handicapped walking perspective. Either the one that goes straight west or the one that goes just west to the south of the approximate location of the proposed leash-free area. I mean, there may be a little bit of hill involved, but I mean, these are paths that are used by the cross-country runners. Each one of them, and let me just address this: the only reason that that they're not all repaved is because the town ran out of money, and I thought that the plan was that the rest of them were going to be repaved. So I'll send that over to whomever wants to comment on it. But several years ago, probably pre-pandemic, I was talking about why the rest of them weren't repaved, and somebody said that was in the plan.
That makes sense, maybe that will help things too.
Yeah.
But, it all depends on what, the people that are using the handicap parking. And what, whether they're in a wheelchair, whether they're. in a walker,
Maybe nobody
whether
will
they're
even care,
difficult
but I just
to-
anticipate that some people.
Because the other way you're going up the hill, the other way you're going down, you still have to work your way back up again. And with a water. So I think it's good to know. I think that the town would be wise to make sure, to try to get some information, some feedback from people that use that before they.
I'm sure they,
Do you think there'll be a public
Maybe.
hearing, Michael?
yeah, I would, we're just one piece of this. I think it would go to, it has to go to planning probably for an 824, and then the council would want to cover it.
Roche mentioned even going to the police commission for some reason, just about safety or whatever, so.
I'm sure
it's gonna
everybody's
be-
gonna
Yeah.
sign in and chime in. Probably
mean-
park and rec too, because it's across the street. So, yeah.
One concern I shared with Roche that day when we took the walk was the fact that the Pistol Creek Clubhouse and all the parking, except for the 2 handicap spots, are on the other side of the road. And the danger of bringing your dogs, even on the, obviously on the leash, across the road, could be hazardous, could be dangerous, a car could be coming around a corner too fast or something, so.
Well, that's a danger, isn't it, Mary
Yeah.
Catherine, for everyone, including the kids who run that. So I don't see that as a kind of an issue because everybody has to obey the law in terms of the crosswalk. And that's not a unique problem, is it?
Right, and then I think they're gonna have some pushback from people that have been using Pistol Creek for a very long time. And most of the people are bringing, if they're doing a dog at all, they are doing it on leash. There's a few that I guess, when they're around a corner or something about it. But, I think there will be some pushback from people who are used to using it their way. And understanding that this is one space that they want to carve out for the off-leash people.
I think if you do the, like you're saying, the sign in the front, the sign at the end, for
Right.
sure. that
Oh,
kinda
I
lets
know they're
people
gonna do
know what's
that.
going on, yeah.
Yeah, this is the one, probably the one property that in town that attracts a different group of walkers, than the other open space parts.
Yeah.
So it
That's a
has,
lot of
it has served very well. a Different.
It's a very comfortable home.
Yeah.
You're walking on the asphalt,
Yeah.
and on the other side, you go up across Savage Hill, there's a whole pond area.
I think the reason they looked at this particular piece, it just has the natural boundaries of the rough, dense growth on either side, which just keeps the animals right there.
It's a nice long stretch,
And it's
so the
very
big dogs
long,
can really
You
run.
know, yeah, and play ball and whatever, so. Keep it up.
It'd be nice to see bicentennial park go back to what it's as well.
Yeah.
Well, I did mention also to Arosh that day was that, I don't know that the people who have used bicentennial for 30 years, the way they want to use it, are going to necessarily go to Pistol Creek. We can try, we can cajole them, we can, hope
But
that
then
they're
they
going
could
to
be
do it.
fined because.
But there is no enforcement on that.
Oh, we
Yeah,
certainly
that's
must.
always been, that's always been.
It's not forbidden, nor should it have been intended as a dog.
Well, and we never wanted it as a dog park, just as an open space.
Well, we got the leash law, right? We
Yes.
have that before,
And
so
it will
that's-
be,
Well, we saw everywhere else.
We had a leash law,
Well, that's
Sort of.
right,
Again, that's enforcement,
so if they start to phase in and now bicentennial, the leash law is in effect everywhere, then they may be more inclined
yes.
to check that out.
Look, there's only,
You only do so much.
it's gonna only do so much, you can't take it by the hand.
Right.
plus the parking's better.
The parking
Access
is a
is
big
better.
thing, I think that's.
It's great,
Yeah, it is.
It needs to be removed.
It's
from
huge.
I was happy to hear Peter say that in the times he's gone to bicentennial, because of the signage that's there, people seem to be more cognizant of it and more respectful of it. I haven't been there in a while, so I can't say, but it's good to hear, because he goes there quite often, it seems like, and he thinks that things are going better there. So that's
Actually, I
good.
just read something on Facebook that somebody went there and there was tons of scoop.
Well, our,
So,
you know,
I might be going there
our
tomorrow,
resident
Karen.
expert,
Karen, let me just say, I might be going with my dogs tomorrow, because I'm off and it's a beautiful day and it's not muddy, so I can let you know.
you're joking.
Don't understand that, why they don't scoop, and then they scoop and
And
throw
then
the
they
bag in the
throw the bag.
woods.
Yeah, but they're not
That's
scooping at
disgusting.
Pistol Creek either, because when we were walking,
Oh, I know.
there was,
Disgusting.
it wasn't, I'm sorry, I can't, I'm not that person, so I'm not gonna take responsibility for not,
Yeah,
because I do
don't
it.
get that.
I know.
Hey, I'd like to, if I could, and I'm usually the guy that's talking about dogs, poop, but I'd like to thank Mary Catherine. I'd like to thank Arosh, and I'd like to thank Michael for actually going out there and doing the work that it takes to fair-mindedly look at this, because it's a tough question, and one that's frankly, I think since I've been on the commission, we've been looking at this. So thank you guys for doing that. And I'll make a motion whenever, the the chairman, but thank you guys for going out there and walking it actually and looking at from a fair perspective.
Well, Roche twisted my arm, so. No, he didn't. I was happy to be invited, so.
Yeah, it was good.
Is there something to make? Or is there comments you want to make as the whole commission and then move on?
We have to, probably should conditionally approve of the concept with noting the concerns about,
The
you know,
handicap.
handicap or paving of the other trails too.
Yes.
Then, that can be passed along to eventually. We'll
I
get
was gonna say, I'm not in the loop as to where
Where,
Carl has something.
I'm sorry, I'm not in the loop where we are with regard to where the town is with regard to the process. But similar to the comments that, you know, by Centennial Park, we then staff prepared a memo to town council, indicating your feedback, much like we do with making comments for the planning and zoning commission, and just indicate what your feedback is, whether
That's
you
good.
think formal, you know, it'll be a formal council item that you might have the opportunity to comment on, or you'd rather make those comments now, we can handle it either way.
Why don't we let Carl
Carl, you're good at this.
go for it?
No, well, no. So I was going to say I didn't hear everything that was just said, but Mr. Chairman, I would be willing to make a motion or to just provide some comments, depending on what you think is and what the staff thinks is correct.
You know what, I think we're all kind of in agreement about the concept is good, with the concerns that we mentioned already, that, and this is early on in the process, I'm sure.
I think it.
I'm sure we'll get to talk about this again, so, yeah, why don't you make a motion, Carl, that's fine.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to recommend that the proposed leash-free area at Pistol Creek be adopted in accordance with Chapter 3, Section 3.2 of the town ordinances, with all due consideration to questions of handicap accessibility and general accessibility, but that's my motion, and I hope that's okay.
Carl, can you type that and email it to me?
I sure can. If that's okay with everybody, I will send it off in an email first thing tomorrow after I eat some.
Carl, do you mind adding something in there at the beginning about the concept of this? Like Michael mentioned, I just like that idea because we're not committing to anything yet. By saying that we approve the general concept. Now, that was Michael who said that. Are you comfortable adding that at the beginning of your motion?
So Rob, let me just ask you what that means. I mean, so the concept of the proposed, you know, because I totally hear what you're saying. I was
I'm not sure exactly what the whole proposal is officially. I don't know. Is this just loosey-goosey still, or is there stuff down in writing?
Well, what I'm saying is that there was, you know, and there was a concept that went in front of the town council that in Chapter 3, Section 3.2, that said there was a 6-month time frame for a proposal to do something other than bicentennial. I would be totally willing and to discuss that, as long as it's not like it doesn't delay consideration. You know, like I really, my father-in-law walks exactly the path that you're talking about, and I don't think he wants to get jumped on by dogs. But I want to, like, we've been talking about this for 15 years. It'd be nice to, you know, put some closure to it. Back to.
I'm confused. What do you want to do, Carl? Would you not want to?
No, I'm sorry.
And I'm okay. It's your
Oh, no,
proposal, your motion.
So.
Oh, no, I'll let my motion stand then.
Okay, Rob, I think this is a conceptual plan,
Okay,
but
I
it's.
just want to make sure we're not committing ourselves to something that we
No,
don't
we're
know.
tentatively approving what we see here, and obviously the things are, it's a fluid thing, but
Okay,
what you see there is what,
okay,
you know, is there. And your concerns are, you know, valid about, you know, the path and
right.
paving the other car paths or improving them same level. So, yeah, this is how it works.
Right.
Nothing is.
Hey, Rob, I'm sorry, Rob, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, Rob. I didn't mean to be flippant, or like dismissive of what you were saying.
I'm smiling a friendly smile under the mask. I'm in no way feeling offended or aggressive or anything like that at all. No.
Well,
Because I like this idea.
If there's a way that we can make
I
this
just wanna
work
make
for
sure we're
everybody,
not-
I'm totally,
That we don't know about.
okay.
and for me, I'm gonna take it another step further, because not knowing exactly what we're committing to or the time frame on this, I would hate to see this turn into a permanent leash-free area, that this goes and now this has got some other kind of designation before it's, you know, really tried out.
That's true.
So
You know,
you're
I mean-
proposing temporary?
Something like that. I mean,
That's not-
what happens,
That's where erosion's
what? And if there are problems with it, or, you know, like, our view of this could change substantially 6 months after it starts.
Sure,
You can see how many people are fit.
yeah,
Yeah,
but that's,
Exactly. You know,
and
let's face it, there should be a
it's
fence
not
there.
gonna be
That's
called
why.
a dog park. It's just an area that is,
Probably share.
is an off-leash where the leash law doesn't apply. I think there should be some kind of trial or, you know, some kind of language into this. Not knowing, you know, what kind of feedback we're gonna get or how well it's gonna work. And have this go like, well, this is our solution, and we're never gonna, you know,
And I
look
think
at it or assess it, you know,
we
moving
too,
forward.
we don't want to call it a dog park because
Right,
it will get out into the whole state of Connecticut.
no,
You'll have
and I think
a
that's,
bajillion
you know,
people showing up there.
it's,
An off-leash area is a much.
yeah, and
Better
I
term.
think that's got the
That's true.
appropriate kind of designation on that.
Yeah.
For showing.
So how would you limit that? And, I mean, how would you limit it, Guy?
by, first of all, calling it an off-leash area, and not calling it a
Dog
dog.
park.
It does say
It's
there,
a-
not gonna be
proposed
called a-
leash-free area.
Yeah,
And listen, in reality, nothing is permanent.
Right.
So, you know, everything can be modified and changed, as we all know, so it's, and I'm sure this would be an experiment, right? That's what.
yeah, that's the only part that I wanted to bring into this, is that drawing it up like this, you know, and you don't know how it's gonna work.
No,
And
never do.
But, you know, I mean, it's difficult, it's a difficult issue, and you saw how things went with bicentennial, and, you know, I mean, it's long lasting, you know, it's not.
I agree with you, Guy. I agree with you. You know, the part of the problem with saying that this is going to be a leash-free zone is the realities of the internet are that you're going to draw people into that zone who have only like dog parks
Yeah.
in their town. You know, I completely agree with you. It's, you know, it's sort of a curse of a town that has such wonderful open spaces as we do. I concur with your concern, and I would be willing to modify my motion to reflect that.
What would that sound like, Carl?
Well, I would like to say that, like, I would like to make a motion to recommend that the proposed leash-free area at Pistol Creek be adopted in Chapter 3, Section 3.2 of the town ordinances, subject to a study period of 12 months to indicate if, or to determine if such leash-free area is detrimental to people using our open space or something like that. What?
It's viable, period. Then you're good.
Yeah.
Viable. All right. You try to make a motion like that.
I'll second it again.
Did anybody get that down?
Yeah.
I thought that sounded,
It's recorded.
it sounded good.
It's okay.
You gotta get the other recording. Okay. Sounds
Thank
good.
you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think assessing it in a time frame.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Can I ask for a clarification if I'm going to prepare a memo? I would obviously utilize the motion, et cetera. However, in this discussion, I'm hearing that you want some of the concerns that you noted to be looked at.
It should be brought up
They
for
can
sure.
be, I'll add them
Yeah.
as another paragraph or whatever in that, okay. As opposed to when I write a notice of decision, it's strictly the motion
Right.
unless there are conditions attached or modified or comments attached. So as long as those, I'll reference back to those items that
Or
were
like the other paths being improved and
Right,
the
pretty much
handicap
everything,
and the
the
handicap.
concerns with regard to the handicapped users, perhaps getting some feedback from those that
I wish that no one.
utilize the area. I don't have the whole, the whole
Oh,
list is
right.
over a couple of pages, but whether or not there should be a delineation along the path,
You know, like-
way itself, and, just things to continue to be looked at, considerations of the other boards and commissions that may be reviewing it.
From current users.
I just wanted to make
and
sure I
other
couldn't exclude.
Yeah, everybody on this commission, everyone on this commission has always been interested in like people using these parcels. So I think that the spirit of that is what Rob and Guy were talking about. That there's nobody that doesn't want everybody to use these parcels all the time. And so I agree with, I think, what was said earlier. If that makes any sense, and if it doesn't, just strike it.
No, I'm glad you said that too. That is true. That's our big thing. So, thank you. So all in favor of the motion as elaborated or clarified by Carl? Aye. So moved. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
I wrote that as you know.
Yes. That was long. So while we're still on Pistol Creek, Maureen,
Oh, you want me to bring it back up?
can you bring that picture of the kiosk that I sent you?
Oh, okay.
I just want to acknowledge the Eagle Scout.
I forgot to say.
Well, when we walked there, I looked at it and I said, this is beautiful.
It is, it really is.
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on, let me share
Share
it
it.
for those online.
That's
Can you
so
see that?
nice.
So that's the kiosk that the Eagle Scout Connor Yorsky,
Really
and I
nice.
hope I got his name correct, Eagle Scout project, and he built that. And that, it looks really fantastic. It's professional and beautiful, and I like the stone underneath. That's a great, great
Very
addition
nice.
there. Very nice.
The lost and found is a good idea too, in the little box.
It's
there.
so funny, there was this lovely lady walking her little dog when my husband and I were there. I wanted to show my husband what the proposal was. And she said I think it was her daughter had lost an earring or something before. And she couldn't reach down into the box. I'm bringing up, I'm like, what am I gonna find? It was not a junk, barrette or, well, we didn't find her.
No.
But it was so cute. She said, oh, thank you for trying. I was pulling up all this
That's nice.
stuff.
So just wanted to acknowledge that great work.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. All right, community gardens, Maureen. So other than, I believe, all the plots have been spoken for.
That's my understanding as well, although I did verify with Fran today, like I usually do the day of a meeting, so
Okay,
and that's my
which is great,
recollection.
great news. When I spoke to her last week, I think she told me there was a couple of new movies too,
Oh,
so
that's
which is good. Yeah,
I guess Peter might be one of them.
oh yeah, that's
He said he
right,
just,
Yeah,
for his first time.
that's right. I didn't think of that.
because there was the senior center dropped out.
Yeah.
Oh.
There were some other, so that if they were all taken too long, there would have been,
Yeah,
there would have been. some new-
they had not all been taken last year, almost all were,
Right.
but not all. There was one that was considerably overgrown and someone, before I got sick and was out, somebody had been pursuing taking that one and was well aware that they had to really put some muscle in to clean out that plot, but they were very interested in it. And I believe Youth Services took one,
All right.
Oh, really?
a small, a
Services.
small one.
Doug Tru- Doug
Yeah,
Tru-
either Youth Services or Upbeat or one of the, a youth, entity that took one as well.
Nice.
Again, that's the best of my knowledge, and I did not regroup on it before I left, but, I also want to comment that, again, our grounds crew, headed up by Woody, is, you know, a real support system there, and the barrels, the water barrels needed some repairs, and we did those, and as well as got a few additional faucets to make the repairs along the way that they put in the shed, and we're encouraging the garden group, the gardeners and the coordinator to try to secure a new volunteer for the maintenance. Right now that was doing the maintenance down there a lot of the gardener. He was at a million meetings. I am so sorry, I'm embarrassed.
So when you mean maintenance, like
But he was doing a lot of the just garden,
keeping the area clean?
yeah, upkeep, the
Okay.
upkeep. Last year worked really hard on the well. He's the one that did a lot of the research on the well.
Bill Jackson?
Bill Jackson, thank you very much. And yes, so, you know, trying to
Yeah, I knew
replace Bill and have a new volunteer. To do that, so,
Because of the wa- yeah, well, he knew the well too, that's why.
So
but
we're
I-
looking, you know, so we're hoping that the garden is able to find another talented volunteer.
I think also it'd be a lot less work now with the new well pump that they put in last year and the bigger batteries, so they don't have to prime it into anything now.
And the fence is in good shape,
Yeah.
and, you know, there's a lot of, the facility has been maintained a little better in the last couple of years and some upgrades. So.
It's hard work.
But again, like that, got the new faucets, if one's leaking, they can replace the faucet, that kind of thing, without grounds having to go out. Hopefully,
Hopefully.
again,
That's always a hard tough one. Thank you. So is there, Carl, did you have anything about trails or trail repairs or something?
I spoke to Steve Wood today, and there was a question of derelict motor vehicle and bicentennial. Do you think I should talk about that, Michael?
Yeah, so, well, let me kind of preface that with a resident of Cross Creek. I'm not saying complained, but filed a concern with Buildings and Grounds that there's an abandoned car in that side of Hatchery Brook conservation area. And Steve Wood kind of thought he knew which one it was, but he thought it would be very difficult to get it in there because of the growth and the equipment and all that stuff. So Carl volunteered to physically hike out there and scope it out with some pictures and make his recommendation. And that's where we're at.
Wow.
And let me just say this, that my wife also volunteered
Did you climb on that when you were a kid?
No, it would have been dangerous back then. Now it's just it's just a pile of rust now. But I honestly, it's been there for at least so I'm not going to tell you how old I am because you probably think I'm young. You all probably think I'm young, but I first saw that thing in 1978. I don't know why it's become an issue right now. Somebody made it an issue. It's not.
I don't, well, it's ultimately for the town to decide, what they want to do there. I just wanted to bring it up because it was of interest. So thank you, Carl, for that. So one thing that I do have that is we need to have some discussion on. So signage and for to utilize or to obtain additional open space signage with our public education fund. So contrary to what we may have thought, we still have the 2550 remaining in the fund, so it's pretty much intact. And fiscal year ends June 30th, and usually, I don't know, when it's usually around the early June when we get a memo from finance that says if you don't have your PO in.
Hello.
Hey, how are you? Come on, grab a seat. So I thought it would be a good idea, instead of trying to hash out sign sizes and sign locations tonight, that we basically make a motion to approve the expenditure, and then somehow in the next couple of weeks, Jim Mahoney mainly and Steve Wood and anybody else that wants to participate, kind of come up with some priority locations for these signs. Again, we haven't bought them in a while, but I think the big one, like if everybody remembers, like the one at Hatchery Brook or the one at Chakowski right off Chamberlain Highway, you might see that there, or the other one further up. I think they run roughly $750 plus post, not including installation. So I would say roughly about $1,000. The smaller ones, or if you wanted to say something, but stop me from going.
So the first thing I wanted to say, or rather the caveat I wanted to put on that is, I do think some of the funds were already at least dog-eared, if not I used the wrong account, if you know, if they were installed for the, one at, oh, there it is, the fire pit and Amelia Green signs. I
I was
think
gonna say,
those
we
should have
talked about
come
some of
out
those last
of
month.
that account, but it's not reflected because I think I took it out of the wrong account after I talked to finance director about that.
I know that you thought that it might have been, but so that didn't come out of the open space fund, so it came out of that fund.
Well, I believe the Amelia Green sign should have, I mean, following the policy of
Yeah.
the signs you guys have been doing, that's where it should have been coming
Okay.
out of, I just didn't
So do you
realize
know
that's
what-
what the education fund did when I
Right.
filled out the PO.
And how much, so do you know,
I don't recall those.
so there's a lot less than what we.
Not a lot less, it'll be a little,
Did you
it'll be a
get
few $100.
the grate welding and stuff like that for the fire pit?
I think that was coming out, that would have come out of space, so the fire pit sign maybe should have, you know, rather than divide that project. But I think the grate and whatnot should have come out of open space, because that's not education, that's
Yeah.
securing your open space. So
Because
you
we
can tell
voted
me
on
where
that
the
one
sign should
in
go.
November for
Yeah.
$250.
So there's still a good amount left.
I don't know, so I don't know how much the Amelia Green sign that,
I'm not sure, that's
Timberland.
been for purchase yet.
but it's encumbered,
Income,
okay, so.
that was in April.
Well, we put together a, we can find that out. hopefully. Just put together a priority.
Priority list.
We can
So I
still
know
make that
that-
motion, right?
Yeah, and
We
you know,
can
and
still
again,
make
I
the
know,
motion for the unencumbered portion of that, right?
yeah, oh, you have that one, that's good.
I have several signs, that I just wanted to get Carl back in the picture if I can. Guy on part of the screen, and I'll share when we get to one to share with you.
So actually, I'm thinking then if, right now, we're probably talking about the smaller sign to put, not that one. that's-
Right, so
that's the-
this would be the bigger sign,
Which, I know Ragged Mountain has been on the hit list for discussion for one like that. But the smaller signs like our guest mentioned, Norton Road access to Bicentennial. There's also Kensington Road access to Bicentennial.
Yeah,
Quarry,
that Kensington Road is signed right now. The
the small
Norton Road
sign.
is not signed.
Norton Road is not.
The Norton Road is a tough,
Yeah, I know it's always been a tough access.
how about, Karen, how about that one in your neighborhood? Do you want to sign that one or no?
Go for it. There's no signs right now.
Is that still there?
Still meadow.
Parking.
All right. Do we want to do that or?
There are other people with longer driveways than mine.
I could get it if I do this.
Carl, is there one at that Cross Creek cul-de-sac?
There's one, of course, at the Cross Creek where everyone uses. There is not one at the Cross Creek towards where the derelict car is, but there, I don't think there should be right now because it's,
There's no viable trail there, right?
nah, it's actually dangerous to go in there. There's some washouts and stuff like that. We'd have to think about that. I mean, we could. I don't think it's the right thing to do right now.
No, just
Sorry,
that-
I'm not finding the map.
Where would they
that
park
I
for
was
this
hoping to
Right on the street?
get.
That's a problem.
Yeah, 'cause it's really,
That's a problem at Kensington Road too, because there's no off-road
There's
parking
no
Where is it
sidewalk
at?
for Norton Road.
where's it on Kensington Road?
between two houses.
Kensington Road, there is a sign at Kensington Road, across the street from Sunny Borders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, there's only space for one or two cars, but it's a beautiful place to go in there. As is Cross Creek on the west side, but Cross Creek on the other side is just, it's not ready for people. And I think we just be,
Okay.
I mean, we could if we needed to spend some money, but
That's one
it's just not ready.
Carl, you said that there is one for Blue Hills on Orchard? Right there at that corner of Orchard and Kensington?
I believe there is a sign down there. I don't know if it's our full sign, but the corner of Kensington and Orchard,
Mhm.
I do believe there is a sign. I could double check that though.
That,
You know,
that is
This
Jim's list, so.
yeah, no, if there's not one, and I can't speak, there's not a full sign there, but there's also Guy, I think that's Guy talking. There's
Yes.
also, that's not a really good place to park. There's like one pull off. It's kind of a poor place to park. So, but I do believe that there's a sign there.
There might be like a
sign.
metal sign or something.
No, I think it's a sign. I'll have to double check that. I've
I know,
only
I
been
go
by
by
it
that
like
all the
14
time.
times.
If I may, I think one of the things that was discussed previously was not to, you were considering signs, and staff certainly talked about it, considering signs in locations that would attract walkers as well, and not only places that have parking access, but particularly with the number of people that have been walking over the last couple of years, to be almost
Yeah,
precise.
that's a really good place. That's a really good place because it's at a trail intersection where you can do a 15-mile loop. It's just the worst place that you can make that intersection. So I've parked there like many times, but unless we explore having more parking there, I wouldn't like advertise it as much. Over to you.
That'd be great ultimately if we could work something out with Sunny Gordon's property, whenever that.
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, well, yeah, who, does anybody know what the status of that property is?
It's
For sale.
Derelict?
coming up as still owned by here, Benrux.
It's basically, at this point, it's a blighted property.
Yeah.
Probably should be put on the list.
And even and just to I think it was Guy that said that, and I wish I were
Yeah.
there with you, but that's, even if you could make a parking area there, it's all twisty turny roads. I mean, the best parking there is north of what's shown here, north of what's shown here. And there's only 2 or 3 spots there. I mean, you know, right there, yeah, right where it goes into Bicentennial, or I'm sorry, Hatchery Brook Conservation Area.
Carl, there's another access from Orchard Road and it's pretty flat and you can park over there too. You ever gone that way into there? It's down, you see where like the greenhouses are on Oklahoma, over
Yeah,
closer to the left. There's an entrance, you can see it. See that?
Oh,
There's
this
parking over there, not there, oh,
Oh, sorry.
go to the left,
I'm really bad with my left and my right, sorry, people.
that's okay. See that right there, there's the driveway there, and you can get in and out there, and it's pretty flat there too.
okay, yeah, I guess you could. Yep, sure.
It's easier than the other part, because the other part's very few, but down here, there's a lot of parking. When you drive in.
Of course, that is private land,
Yeah.
Yes.
so just, you know, just.
But there's a
Yeah,
there's a hemp license there, so maybe nobody cares.
okay. Okay. If you want to see the other one on my street, I can show you.
Please.
Go further up to Kensington to Steeple View.
So, that's
Yeah.
in this area, right? You're Alton?
No, it's
No.
off Kensington
North.
Road. Near
Oh.
Norton.
Way up near North, I got it, I'm sorry.
Down
That's
to the
steep right
south,
there, isn't it?
down
Yeah.
to the left
right
of the
there.
page.
There's Steeple.
There.
Okay, now just go
Keep
to,
going.
keep going,
On Kensington?
Down
go,
On Steeple.
go to,
On Steeple,
to the
yeah.
cul-de-sac, yeah.
go, not that cul-de-sac, up a little higher.
Let's
Okay,
go this up.
here,
No,
go
that's
down
not-
a little now. Down, go
Scroll
down. And let's see, I gotta figure it out. That's mine. Let's see.
Right here.
So it's actually over there. It's like right around here. Whoop,
Oh, we had it.
that's my lot.
There we go.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that's
so-
me.
That's down there.
It's
Yeah.
right here.
There's no opening.
Yeah, right there. There is no signage there.
And is that an access as well, or not?
That
Access,
is,
'cause it is.
That's, I
The
don't know.
sliver bringing it out.
Oh, but actually, that's the access. The other thing is like this pit for water.
Right, it's got a retention, but,
Yeah.
but that's the access.
The little skinny.
No, the little skinny one is the
Right.
access point.
Oh, okay.
Here we go.
But you
This
could,
way
I
now.
mean. it
Between
could
those
be-
two.
The little green
And then
below
if you
it.
go further down, move it a little down off of not Spring Valley, I forget the name of that street. You see there's another access there too? You see the
Over here,
green?
this one.
Oh, yeah.
No.
No,
Here.
it's below the big.
Right
Here,
Oh. over
Park
here.
View. So this is open space back there. I don't know if it's, yeah, so,
Yeah, it's all part
Yeah.
of this thing.
yeah, so it's here. So there's the two access
That's
points.
like-
So is there like a path that people could walk on, or is it
No,
all
'cause
just
it's-
overgrown?
It's all overgrown, it's
Yeah,
not
there's no
overgrown,
trail
it's cut because the neighbors.
Oh, they made it their lawn.
It's part of their lawn.
Got it.
Yeah, and then the back, like, it's really not supposed to be their lawn.
So you could put one sign there?
Yeah, you could because it's access.
So
They're gonna hate
roughly, now of course, it goes along with
Just
that.
don't tell them,
I
I'm
mean, look
telling you.
how close that it's right along their driveway edge.
Yeah.
The, just to update everyone, we got rough quotes, that the 1x3 signs, and add to that, the post, the cap, the mounting installation, but 1x3 signs, which would be a small open space sign with logo, 1x3, $65, 2x3, $85, and a 12-inch by 18-inch is $47. So, all running less than $150 to $100 for the smaller size signs to show that it is open space. I was actually wondering if, for instance, at the edge of Bicentennial where we had that encroachment issue on one side, if that might be a place to put a sign that says, edge or not. Because that was one of the places we found a lawn encroached into the open space area.
Actually, in Bicentennial, there aren't any other signs except for the wooden sign at the beginning, right? So that's a potential area too. Just
Yeah.
let people know this.
Where it begins.
The gentleman who is encroaching, I believe, on Winesap, he knows what he's doing. I don't think we need to spend any money on signs. If that, I'm not sure that was the suggestion, but
It was more of an example of
Oh, okay, sorry. I
having the
apologize.
ability to get there as well, and I turned my back. Having the ability to know where you can get into open spaces and where the edge of open space is, much like we do at the areas now when we get a subdivision and it's delineated that this is the edge of open space, but that was not always. So there are a few
We
areas
haven't
of concern.
We have been talking about that for a while, right, Michael?
Yeah, it's also education too, because like everybody knows that Bicentennial is open space, but you know, we have this branding that we've been doing with the signs. And it's all part of that. So even though it's de facto knowledge to have a sign there, not necessarily at that neighbor's place there, but you know, in the, next to the wooden kiosk there, or in the meadow somewhere, you know, leading to a trail. It's always a good thing, so.
Using that as an example, bicentennial. So could you put something that just says boundary or open space boundary and then do it on one side and the other? So that people understand that if they are, I mean, I don't know, it seems like there's just a natural, you know, it's like woods and the field, and then there's woods and there's paths. And you go on the paths, but if people don't want to stay on the paths, maybe you need to say boundary. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's more of an issue than adjacent property owners, but even, you know, everybody knows, or if you live there, you know.
Yeah, I think so. Seems great.
Yeah, so. Yes, guys.
I think that we have almost like two levels of a discussion that we, and because I've always been for putting up signs in as many places as possible. We're gonna really annoy people in doing that, and I think that we really need to have a plan. For, you know, like, that's a great example. I mean, you've got the Norton Road little area, which is on a slope. And wasn't really a path, much of a path when I was out there a number of years ago, before they developed the houses and stuff. And I did a lot with the potential development going in there. You've got that, you've got the one in your neighborhood, two of them in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
I've been at both those access. You almost have to decide what the plan is. You put access signs at all of them. Do we maybe not want to encourage people at certain ones because of either potential, not a great trail, potential danger, you got a better access point? I think for the job that we have in front of us right now, it'd be great if we had a few of the bigger signs that we needed. If we had locations that we really needed those, to allocate that money, you know, sooner than later, and then maybe keep this discussion going in further meetings about what other places, you know, I mean, we've got the one on Orchard Road that you're headed towards my house, past the RC's old house there. That goes, it's Belcher Brook runs all the way along. It's up. We got feedback like ages ago about like they didn't want cars parked next to the guardrail there. Well, I don't know. I mean, to me, it's people park there anyway at times. They don't get tickets. If we just had a sign up that said that that's open space, that's what you're going to encourage. People are going to stop there, but you get neighborhood people too that'll walk.
Yeah.
But I think you almost have to do these like one at a time and decide how you know, do we need to get some kind of feedback from the police as far as, you know, can you encourage parking, or how is that gonna, you know, we're gonna put a sign up. They may tell you that, like, we're gonna put a sign up that says no parking. Right next to you know, because it's the same kind of thing with Blue Hills, that I think I disagree with the lack of, that there's a lack of sight lines at the top of the hill there with the barn. There's plenty of room in between the structures there to have that work as a parking lot to access Blue Hills. And that'd be a great place for a sign. That'd be a great access point.
This is on Blue Hills, this, the road that's like
No, it's actually on the orchard.
Oh, okay. I'm
So
sorry.
like where you were talking about,
Yeah.
that other act, you just go up to the top and on the left, that's all part of that property too,
Yeah,
including those buildings.
that project
Right
was
here.
a funding thing and
That's
two
this.
police chiefs ago, we had the sideline.
Yeah, right there, yeah.
But there's the other issue, and I guess it's good to rekindle that, but it's a structure that could be an issue for,
Yeah.
maybe need to take down before they can parking. But you know what, we gotta revisit that, because that's, we got a new police chief and probably.
Is that an attractive hazard, would you say, because the building's there and it
Yeah.
would be?
Yeah, it's a great place. We had the approval for the sightline. It's a good place to put a parking area. And then, as Guy said, it's 450 acres going that way.
Yeah,
So,
and that's
yeah. So,
that's really that's the better gateway into that property.
I agree.
Any of the other.
No, I agree. We can't just put signs at these locations that have no parking, no access, because it's too risky and dangerous.
In the neighborhoods.
That's a bigger issue. So, well, the neighborhood's a different thing, because you can park on the side of the road, but
Well, you,
you can't park on Orchard Road. You can't really park on Norton Road, those kind of things.
but when you have like a little skinny, I don't know how wide these things are, they look skinny. But you've got, maybe that property was open space even before the houses were built, but now there's houses. And you've got two neighbors, you've got some path that exists, but no one knows it exists. Now all of a sudden you're gonna stick a sign there.
No, there's gotta be, right, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, but that,
But
you
if
know,
there's
for
no
the
existing
people.
trail in there, as Karen said, in our neighborhood, it's all overgrown and there's
Yeah.
no trail that goes there. But if there's a trail that can be connected with some minimal effort.
So just the fact that there's some little,
Yeah.
little connection to something, you don't put a sign there if there's no trail.
Well, yeah, I guess that's why we're having this discussion too, that, you know,
I mean, in this day and age, you know, people probably want to limit the number of people parking near their house, walking by their house that they don't know. And if that's not even a path, but you're putting a sign that says you could go there. That's a
If
problem.
you zoom in on that one again, I mean,
That's
that's
a
a
philosophical
perfect
discussion, what
example,
you do.
because there are numerous ones just like this.
Yeah,
It's
So
too wide.
can I comment
Yeah.
that from the planning perspective, when a subdivision comes in and it goes through the subdivision process and contributes open space, generally speaking, these pathway or corridors, we'll call it a corridor because it's not a path yet, it's not developed as such, is integrated for the purpose of the neighborhood gaining access to the open space that is dedicated with the subdivision. So the large landowner who owned it, and developed it as a subdivision,
you're worried, I think.
had to dedicate certain
you're-
parcels.
you
Now,
might be
those are
referring
in the
more to an open
ideal
space subdivision.
situation.
Well, that's what
No,
these are.
it's, I mean,
This was
subdivisions,
built with backed up to Bicentennial Park.
Yeah, it had to have the open space to it.
but connections were,
Right.
but generally speaking, most of these.
No, not like
are-
what we've seen as a true open space
Design.
subdivision where they dedicate a parcel of open space.
Well, actually, if you go up, there's one little dedicated parcel which nobody ever uses.
Yeah.
The one they were gonna make.
And a
sign
portion
for.
of
Yes,
this is an
yes.
open space, portions of this were open
You can
space
see the
subdivision.
little tip of that green.
Well,
up
the bottom
above.
line is those, one day if somebody wanted to make a trail connecting to that thing, then that would be a project and that's an access point and that's where,
Yeah.
if somebody wants to park on the side there,
Yeah, you can do it.
so
You can do
would
it.
you put a sign up at that point? Or would you put the sign up and then see what happens?
I'm, mixed feelings here. I mean, if you're asking my personal opinion, I would put a sign there today, but,
Okay.
just to identify it and to expand the knowledge that it's an open space area and there's a way in. Now, are you gonna get far? No. And wanna take bets on how fast the neighbor will, bang into it with a lawnmower?
Yeah.
But,
Right, and sometimes it could be the second, third owner or whatever, they're not even
Aware.
that aware of it, but it's like some of the owners have been spoiled by it, I mean,
Sure.
it's part of what was made, you know, as the plan, the approved plan, and there
Yeah.
are those kind of things all over the place.
Yeah.
And, you know, people really, and they're usually there for a reason, to gain access, to make that connection to a larger parcel. And right now, most of them look like you're walking through somebody's
Yeah.
property. They'll put plantings in on them, they'll, you know, all the time. That's right. And if you probably try to walk it, you probably get somebody in your face telling you what you're doing.
Yep.
Well, part is too, is if the town came and mowed that strip every week.
Yeah.
Then they would know that that's not
Yeah.
theirs, but
But they
nobody
don't.
does that.
Right.
And if they didn't mow it, then you'd have this, you know, whatever, 5 feet wide
Right.
strip that
It
just
looked
went.
really bad.
Filled with invasives.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Didn't
I
we
mean,
originally
there's,
start to say we have to spend some money?
Yes.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that I
And talk
think,
about this another
I
time.
That's a
think-
good idea.
I think that if we,
Sorry, great.
do we have a few of these that are bigger, or just, I think the allocation and maybe
How
having
much
a
do you want to allocate?
small work.
Whatever's left, but we don't know because we have
And you
to,
just word it
We have to
as the
spend it
balance
before we
of,
meet again, so should
and
we-
you say the
Yeah.
balance
Up to
of
the
the,
balance.
Up to the balance and, yeah,
yes, that would be good. And then we could, well, we can't really have a meeting online, more than 3 people, but if everybody has suggestions of parcels, or we can pass around potential parcels.
Who we need in June too, right? That
Yeah,
would be-
but there'll be a freeze by then.
Yeah,
Because it's the end of the year.
So we wouldn't be able to use the money even though we allocated it.
Well, we gotta do something like before the end of this month, right? So,
So what we like, what I would suggest, is one of the things I would suggest from what I'm listening to, is that it sounds like there's a couple of ideas for the larger signs. And that's substantial funds for
Yeah.
those $500+
Would be more.
at least, right? So at the time that we did the trail signs where we put prints over existing signs, those prints were up under 45, but a new sign with the trail sign and map is 485 plus 100 to install, to the best of our knowledge. These are, quick quotes we got. So almost $600 for each of those. I would suggest if you have a couple of those that you can get a relative consensus on, and then I'd encourage emailing, and I'm sorry, Carl, I turned around again, and my voice is not carrying because it's in bad condition. And then perhaps emailing me with a list, we can see if there's a number of items that are, a number of locations that may be recurring. Even or after a conversation here to kind of narrow that down,
that's
for
a good
what
idea.
your goal is.
Well, if anybody wants to leave with food for thought, if big signs, I mean, I would think Ragged Mountain is a potential one.
Yep.
Beckley Quarry off Weathersfield.
I was gonna say that.
That's a long lost kind of step area there. And then what about at the end of Summerwood up on, Blue Hills Conservation Area or something?
The only question I had with that one is do you end up with,
ATVs pulling it down.
yeah, I mean, we had problems with that, putting that stuff there to get vandalized or
That's a good point.
Well, I was up there. This weekend, and there was signs there at the end of Summitwood. They're in good shape.
Yeah, small ones. Well, maybe we should think about Beckley Quarry and Ragged Mountain for now. So how should we word it, Maureen? We need a motion to use the remaining funds from the public education for at least Ragged Mountain, Beckley
For a
Quarry,
large sign.
large signs. And if there's any remaining, we can get a couple small signs too. takers.
Are we seconding it?
Or first,
Sounded like a-
All right, I'll propose that one
I'll second it.
Geez, did I say it cleanly enough?
Yeah.
Is everybody good with that?
Aye.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I,
So moved. Thank you, everybody, for that. That was,
So then we don't have to worry about it, because you can go ahead with that, as long as we have the money there.
Yeah.
We call it-
which we'll have to figure out. And then this sounds like a very good ongoing discussion about what we just had.
Right. If there may be,
And really, what we need to do is we need to take one of the, let's spread this out and then mark it off with pencil and then.
I had really hoped to, and I forgot we made the print of that I made it the extra print.
Yeah.
But that's what the map I was looking for
Oh,
to
okay.
pull up online so that perhaps you
Yeah.
could choose, and I
So
unable to find it quickly.
you can make that a request, get another copy of the current open space map. full
I have
size.
to find it and print it. I just couldn't find it
Oh,
this
you can do it,
afternoon.
you don't have to give it
I
to him,
can-
what's his name back there?
I-
Ah.
the other thing
You
that,
ask enough times to have something done,
And then you
they
figure out,
give you access.
Good idea.
the other thing that we could do, just put it out there for long-term kind of stuff, would be a smaller sign. And decide what should go on it. That maybe doesn't even, a lot of these might not have an actual name to it. You know, or something where maybe we don't need to have a name to it, just that it says like town open space access or something like that.
So
You
the
know, that-
subdivision regulations do have a sign that says, I don't wanna say, well, like limit of conservation area or something along
Okay.
those lines. That is what is required of developers to put now
Now, right,
at their,
so we may wanna end up with a supply of those that we could put out, you know, at some point.
and we used to have a
Yeah.
supply that was then found to disintegrate quickly, and they ended up getting.
You know, for some of the smaller
Not
towns,
reused.
like the one I was saying on Orchard, you know,
Yeah.
on Belcher Brook, most people don't even know that it's there. There's a trail. There's, you know,
Yeah.
it's along the brook. It's a nice little place to go. There should be at least a sign out there that people know that they're welcome. You know, instead of not knowing or
What it is.
thinking like, oh, I'm getting on, we'll sneak on. It's, you know, you don't know who owns it.
you know what, that's all part of, the whole awareness thing about, what's in town. And again, they see that sign there, and then if they're in another area, they see it, then, oh, I know what that sign is, that must be another open space area,
Yeah.
let's go check it out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's a good idea.
So those don't have to be as specific to the property.
No, it's just a
They
small
just-
one with
yeah.
the logo or an open
Yeah,
space.
yeah.
Town open space. I agree. Thank you. Anybody else have anything? Sure.
I'm gonna try to bring up.
Second.
Thank you, Karen. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.